related out of it. So
is this a mastermind? Is this an actual class? Is this something you pay for?
So yes, we pay for it. It's kind of a mixture of mastermind and an actual class. So there's teaching, but then we often split up into groups, and of course it's pretty consistent on the people that are there week in and week out. So you're getting to know those same people. I need to grab a water. You're getting to know those same people over time, and but yeah, so it's hugely helpful. So a lot of it you get from the teaching, and a lot of it you get just from the interaction from people. I'm going to grab a water real quick. Give me 1 second.
All right.
All right. And I am up at my video studio all day today. So I actually, that's the class is in the same building. Well, I should say our video studio is in the same building as the class. So that's on purpose. And then I'm actually teaching a class in that classroom this afternoon. So basically just up here all day and have to make some phone calls and run some errands in the area in between our talk and my class. So, and wolf down some lunch if I remember to do that.
What class are you teaching?
So I am teaching a class on email marketing. So it'll be a 2-hour-long class. The first half roughly is me talking, and the second half is hands-on. So we'll see. It's been a series through one of the chambers that I've done this year, and this is the final session, being in December. And some of the classes, the hands-on time was super valuable, and we did some specific activities, and some of the times everyone just kind of took off once the class was over. And so we'll see how it goes today. I'm hoping I can get some people to send me their email newsletters that I can offer a critique for in front of the class, but who knows if any of them will be comfortable enough to actually do that.
You know, it's crazy because sounds like you offer classes. I offer coaching. Mm-hmm. You are also taking classes, but I am not taking coaching. I don't know why I can't bite the bullet and pay what they want me to pay.
Quality. So mine comes with coaching as part of it, and so the one that I'm paying for. And so yeah, quality costs money. I mean, it turns out, but it's worth it. If it's quality, it's not costing money. It's obviously an investment that you get an ROI on. So
right, but I'm currently still in the military.
Sure.
Not really generating an income. So for me to come out of pocket for $1,000, $5,000, $20,000, it's just like, ugh.
It's painful. Yep.
Ugh. How long have you been paying for classes?
8 years, just over 8 years.
How hard was it to get into your first class?
Well, writing the check was the hardest part. So it took me a year. I was talking with the guy, I call him my coach, but I was talking with my coach for, I think for a year solid before we finally pulled the trigger on it. So, and it was definitely at the time a sales driven decision. So that was, even though it turned out over the last 8 years, I've got a lot more out of it than just sales, but that was the driver of the decision. Definitely. Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends doing some amazing things. I just talked to my buddy in Vienna, and he made $650,000 last year.
Nice.
Which I'd like to get on that action. But he offers his coaching for $20,000, and I was like, oh, $20,000's a lot when I'm currently making zero in the thing I'm trying to get rolling, you know.
Oh yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Yep. So is that $20,000 a year or a month or?
$5,000 a month for 4 months.
Okay.
Which I can afford, but I don't know.
A lot. Yeah.
I don't know how real it is. I don't know. Right. I don't know how, because I've paid for courses in the past of some level and variety, and I don't do them.
Right.
I
Right.
don't. I know who I am. I need constant prodding. Hey,
Yep.
Travis, you do that? Did you do that? Did you do that? Did you do that?
Hmm.
Fine, I'll do it. Oh.
That's why I've been in for 8 years, because that's half the battle, is just getting me to actually do the stuff.
Well, like Ty Lopez offered every class he offers today. Instead of it being like, I don't know, I added it up quickly. Instead of it being like $25,000, it was $500. And still, I was like, I know I'm not going to do it if I pay for it.
Right. 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 No, I have that same. I have historically had that same issue. Definitely.
I need a person prodding me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still active duty Navy. If you tell me to go do something, I'm like, but if you show me, then I can do it, and then I can do it
Right.
forever.
Right.
But if you're just gonna say go do it and never show me how to do it, I'm not interested.
Right.
Yeah. How much time do you have today? We burned through 7 minutes.
Yeah, so I had blocked out until noon. If we finish earlier, that's great. I can't go longer, though. I say noon, so that was 2 hours.
Okay, so we've got time.
Yeah.
I've got to, when I'm done with you, not when I'm done with you, when we're complete, right? I'm done with you, Tim. Get out of here. Well, we're done. I had an episode come out today, and it is by far, hands down, the best episode I have done to date. The most content, the most value for my people, and I've got to go out and promote it. I don't know what I'm
Nice.
doing. I don't know
Right.
what I'm doing. That's why I'm talking to a marketing guy. I've been on your site, T&S Marketing, looking around at your videos and such. I like it.
Yeah. Well, thank
Good
you.
stuff. It's good stuff.
Actually redo on like hopefully 6 months is the longest it'll take, but we're redoing the whole site, where weirdly, hopefully no one will notice. Kind of redoing the underpinnings to give us some additional capabilities, but it's one of those deals where we were like, we don't really want to redesign right now, but we can't do some of the things we're wanting to do unless we totally recreate it. But it's a big project, definitely.
And are you doing the work for this, or is that something you hire
So
out?
I am probably going to do about 80% of it, and then my team will do about the other 20%.
Okay. See, that's my current problem is I don't have a team to
Yeah.
build the crap that I don't want to do or know how to do. This is the stuff that I like right here.
Yeah. Sure.
And why wouldn't
Yeah.
I?
Yeah. No, a team is awesome, except for every Friday. They like to get paid, so oh man.
Well, in my case, I'd have to be paying out of pocket for something that like
Right.
Upwork or Your Man in India or some other virtual assistant.
Sure. Yeah, we'd use a decent amount of freelancers with our work as well. There's 4 of us full time, and then there's probably less than half a dozen freelancers we use just constantly right now. But then other ones we just kind of pull in as needed, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool, man. I'm re-looking over my notes that I have for you. Digital marketing, 5-time author, SEO focused, LinkedIn, website building, 16 years plus in business, doing that MailChimp, Priebe, like freebie.
That's right.
I wrote that down. Cool. So last time we talked, just a reminder what the nonprofit architect is helping other people build their nonprofits.
Right.
Give them the actionable steps and things that they can do in order to be successful, which is where someone like yourself comes in.
Yep.
All of my business guests have been phenomenal. All of my nonprofit guests have been hard to rein in because they just want to talk about their mission and vision.
Sure.
Which I don't know why you wouldn't.
Right.
But getting to some of the dirt and the actual items and things like that it's been a little of a struggle.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, cool, man. How's life in Oklahoma City? Is it snowing yet?
No, it's funny. So I've got 3 boys. The youngest is 6. And he informs me that, no, Dad, it always snows on Christmas. I'm like, no, son, it does not always snow on Christmas. But no, it has not. I don't think, well, we might have had one day where there was a little snow, but it just is not. I mean, we're still having days where it's like 50 degrees plus. So I don't know. Well, I haven't, I normally, my wife makes fun of me. I'll check every night. I'll check what the temperature will be at 5 a.m. and at noon. So I can get a good feel for when I get up and go for my morning walk, what the temperature will be. And then I can get a good feel for how I actually have to dress for the rest of the day. But that's it. So I'll double check that literally the night before. And then other than that, I'm like, I don't know how the weather's supposed to be later this week.
I always check here before I walk out of the house to see if it's a good idea to wear pants or a good idea to bring a jacket.
Right.
It's finally down below 100. It's in the 70s. I can hardly believe it. I don't even know what to do with my life anymore. Just to walk around, just a solid, gross, just base coat of sweat.
That's
everywhere.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't alone. You see people walking the street that you know, and they're not like, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like, and they're like, "It's like, hey man, I saw you on the street yesterday." I'm like, "Yeah, I saw you." You don't want to say hi? He's like, "Nope." Was it because of
say anything?
Was it because of the heat? They were like, "Yeah, it's gross."
Oh man.
Well, good, man. Let's get it kicked off here.
All right.
Make sure I know what the heck I'm calling you. T&S Online Marketing. And then one thing I wanted to mention, if we have any good quotes from today's show, I'm gonna throw it on a T-shirt, and everyone that you sell can give you $5.
You had mentioned that.
Good.
I've prepared many quips. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I had to remind, because I just had to post in my group. I posted a thing where it was like a Black Friday special, and someone's like, "Oh, hey, does this benefit your nonprofit?" To this guy, and he's like, "No." I was like, "Yes, it does. I donate money to your shit. I can't believe you don't remember." And I deleted all that. I had to delete all that, right?
Right.
Yes, it does. I actually donate $5 for every shirt to their organization. Then I hit send, and I was like, "I can't believe you don't understand what I'm talking about." I was like, "Hey man, are you okay? Did you forget this?" He's like, "Oh, I'm stressed out and this and that." And cool, let's talk. But don't tell people that them buying a T-shirt with your name on this benefit your organization.
Right.
Calm myself down. It's gonna be okay.
Right.
Woosah.
Oh,
all right. To my audio guys listening to this, I'm gonna start now. I don't know how many minutes I'm into this. About 13.
That's all right.
All right, for reals this time. Here we go. Hey, welcome to the Nonprofit Architect. I'm your host, Travis Johnson, here today with Tim Priebe from T&S Online Marketing. Tim, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, Travis. How about yourself?
You know, I'm doing better than average, that's for sure. If you like the things that Tim has to say, we're going to have quotes on a T-shirt available later at reallydesigns.biz. But there'll be a link in the show notes where you can go get your favorite Tim Priebe quotes. And hey, if you don't like the T-shirt, that's fine. You can support us on patreon.com/nonprofitarchitect. I'm just happy and thankful to be online with Tim today, talking across 8 time zones, but somehow a 9-hour difference. Thank you, daylight savings time. It's just after Thanksgiving, right into December, and we're talking marketing today.
All right. Well, what do you want to start off with, Travis?
I want to know what it is that you do as an online marketing consultant.
Well, I like to say as little as possible because I have a great team and I try to get them to do all the real work. But occasionally I do have to do some work myself. But in reality, kind of real high level, the 6 things that we tend to help people with are websites, social media, email marketing, SEO, which is all about how and where you show up in Google, online video, and blogging. And so those are the main 6 things we help with. A lot of our clients will just have us do one-off, help them with setup or strategy. Some of our clients will have us do consulting and training, and then some of us are just like, nope, we want you to manage it. We want to be hands-off, or as hands-off as we can be, which we don't work well with people that want to be completely hands-off. But as long as they'll have some involvement, want us to do the bulk of the work. So really any range in there. End up working with a lot of nonprofits. That was kind of accidental initially, kind of not, but have really enjoyed it over the years. Although they don't make up the bulk of our revenue, they probably make up about half of our clients. So we definitely love working with them.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know we got connected through Shannon Whittington, who was on the board of Books by Vets with. And if you are listening to this, you can check out Shannon Whittington on episode number 8 at nonprofitarchitect.org and listen to our podcast and our talk about, some of it was my time on the board there, and it was very, very interesting. But someone in your shoes that does marketing for a living, you have the potential to touch and interact with all sorts of facets. And you already mentioned the nonprofit things that you do. What are some of the things that nonprofits are just not doing right on the marketing space?
Well, man, that is a great question. A lot of who we work with ends up being smaller nonprofits, just because especially because we used to have some very specific deals for websites for nonprofits. We still do, it just kind of works a little differently where it's not as cut and dried anymore. But we would get a lot of nonprofits that thought they couldn't afford a good website come to us, and then find out, oh, we can afford a good website. And probably those size nonprofits, the number one mistake I see is just that their websites don't look great. And listen, you don't have to have like the highest end website by any means, but your website is your first impression. And people are going to assume that if you're not serious about your website and the face you're putting forward for your mission and for what you're trying to accomplish, then maybe you're not that serious about your mission. Not everyone's going to assume that, obviously, but there are definitely enough people that will assume that kind of investing, and it can be time, right? You can invest your own time in just becoming really, getting a really good looking website if you don't have money. But often you can find someone that'll do a professional looking job that will do it either for free or for discounted, or just work with you on payment arrangements somehow. And so don't assume you have to do it yourself. But yeah, that's a mistake we see a lot of nonprofits is their website does not look professional. And it could be like a nephew of a board member or something did it, right? That happens a lot as well. But you've got to be cognizant of that is your first impression that you make to most people that will hear about your mission, or maybe your second, right? It may be that they hear about it and then they Google you. But if they can't find you, or it doesn't look good once they do find you, that's going to make a impact.
I just lost you. Can you hear me?
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
If you're listening to this and editing, please edit out that little chunk there at the end. So I talked. Well, let me go back. I think it's important, and it matters who actually does the work on your website. And the reason I say who, not as in which person, but how accessible are they? How easy is it for them to update your website? And do you have a existing arrangement for updates to a website?
Yes.
I talked to someone today on their nonprofit website, and I had been giving money for people that have sold T-shirts, and one individual wanted me to give the money that he earned to a different nonprofit. I said, sure, no problem. And I went to his website and I said, hey man, I can't find a giving button. And he's like, well, I don't have a giving button on my nonprofit website. And I was like, well, that's okay. Do you have a PayPal or a way to accept a digital payment? I'm obviously over in the Middle East right now, and I can't just hand him cash. And he was like, well, I actually don't have that either. And you know, we're kind of joking and poking fun a little bit, but there's people that are going to be in that situation where they haven't figured out how to do that yet, or they've got the 501c3 up and running, but they're making it difficult for people to give them money.
Right.
And I can just recommend that, just hands out, that never make it hard for people to give you money.
Absolutely.
Never make it hard for people to give you money. And what kind of advice do you have for someone that needs an update but they can't get a hold of the person? Or what kind of pre-existing arrangement would you assume should be put in place? How do you work that sort of things with someone like a small nonprofit?
That's a great question. So that is, both of those things you mentioned are problems we see when they come to us, and most of the time it's the whole website is unprofessional, and so they'll come to us, and as a result, it won't have a donate button, or, and I say donate button, but whatever that looks like, or maybe they even have a great looking website, but they can't get a hold of their person because it was donated or whatever. And that's what we see most of the time. If it looks good but they are complaining, it's because it was donated and they can't get any ongoing support. And so we just see that all the time, and actually it causes a problem for nonprofits more so than if they had just gone out and paid for a website. And I've been on boards where that's happened, and obviously I've been on the marketing end of things where I'm getting a phone call because the donation of the website looked great initially but caused problems long term. And so always need to ask about, hey, what is maintenance for this going to look like? And a lot of times, if from my end of things, from the marketing company, if someone says, well, this is great, but what would maintenance look like after this point? I'll say, well, here's how much that would be and what it would include. Oh, great. And they may be perfectly willing to pay for it. And so from the nonprofit standpoint, I would say just be willing to ask. Don't assume it's going to be more than you can afford. It might be more than you can afford, but don't assume it's going to be more than you can afford, and see if they'll work out some way just to make sure, because a lot of the marketing company's perspective is, oh, we donated this nonprofit, so I assume they're not going to want to pay for support. Well, the nonprofit is like, no, this is important. If the thing is important enough, then they'll pay for it. And so, but from the nonprofit standpoint, just know ahead of time. Ask those questions ahead of time. What is updating going to look like? But yeah, I mean, specifically to your donating online point, absolutely ask the company that you're working with, or if you're doing it yourself, do something. I mean, at the minimum, get a PayPal account set up, even if it's not a nonprofit PayPal account, right? That actually takes some hoops to jump through, but even just a normal PayPal account, where yes, you do have to pay a little more on the percentage, but you're getting money, right, that you wouldn't get otherwise. So go ahead and get at least that set up, and linked to from your website so that people can donate online.
Oh, absolutely. And what I've seen, especially from young nonprofits, is they've not done this before. They've not run a business before. They've not run a nonprofit before. They've not set up a website before. So you might get
Right.
something that's donated or worked on once, and a few weeks into it, you realize it's just not really set up the way that you thought it would be, or the way that it
Right.
really needs to be,
Right.
because you are not really the user. When someone goes to check it out, they're like, hey man, like I can't find the thing,
Right.
or I got to click through 6 different menus to get to your store or your donate or whatever the thing is, or I can't find your mission on here. Now, as a nonprofit or even as a business, you're stuck trying to solve some problem you didn't even know you had. You
Right.
just paid for it, you just got to donate, it just got done, it's 3 weeks live, and it's garbage. It just is not what you need. And that's a place that we don't want you to be at. So if you talk to someone like Tim and get ongoing maintenance fees, that's something that you could avoid. Now, I know you mentioned social media, and I've talked to a few media experts already, and there's a big thing that they talk about is congruence between your social media and your website. What can
Mhm.
you tell us about that setup?
Sure. So, not sure what their take was on it, but there's a few different aspects to it. In my mind, the biggest one that people don't think about. So, like, let's take Facebook. Facebook is an easy example, just because so many people are on it. Facebook, when you create what they call a company page, gives you the opportunity to customize your profile picture and then that banner up top, right? Your cover photo, and so if someone finds you, let's say someone finds you through Facebook and then they want to go to your website. If they go to Facebook, and let's say your goal is just for them to donate. Let's say that's your only goal. You'd love a $5 donation online after someone hears about your mission. So they go to your Facebook, they find out about you, they go to your website, and let's say it looks different. Let's say it's the same organization name, but it looks completely different because your website was done, whatever. You're working on Facebook on an ongoing basis because you can't get a hold of your web guy, and maybe your logo changed or you change your colors or whatever. They go to your website and it's different. What happens is people get confused. If there's not that brand identity, the visual brand where it looks the same in both places, people will start to doubt, am I in the place that I meant to go to? Because people assume, not everyone, but a lot of people will assume, oh, maybe I clicked on the wrong thing, right? We've all talked to people that are scared of computers, and so that's a real issue across all age ranges. But there are definitely people that are wired, and that's one extreme, is scared of computers. But there are definitely people who are wired to think, did I do that right? Now I'm always going to assume that the thing is screwed up, right? Because I know what I'm doing as a professional. But there are definitely people that get confused, and the deal is confused people don't take action. So if people are confused, they're not going to donate, they're not going to sign up for your email newsletter on your site, whatever your goal is, they're not going to read more about your mission because they're confused. And so how you eliminate that confusion is you use the same colors, the same graphics, the same pictures. I mean, so tell me this, Travis, have you ever been on Facebook, clicked on a link, and the thumbnail you saw on Facebook was different from the picture you actually see when you go to the website? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen broken links.
Yes, broken links as well. Either of
Yeah.
those, you go to, and you're like, oh, well, this can't be what I meant to click on. They must have changed it. Even if you don't think it was you think something's wrong, right? And so that's what even something small like having the same thumbnail image and then the same picture on the page they link to is huge. But definitely Facebook gives you the opportunity to do that. You know, put your logo or whatever in the profile picture area of your page and put your some big branded graphic, same color, same type of thing. And so that's a lot of what we'll do as far as telling people, why is it important that it look the same? Well, that's why, because you don't want to confuse people, because confused people don't take action.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. It's crazy because it takes a lot to maintain congruency, because you might be a person with a nonprofit, you have a personal page, and then you have a professional page,
Mm-hmm.
then you have a Facebook business page, and off that you have a Facebook group for the whatever reason. And
Sure.
all of those things should match. If you have a personal page, you shouldn't have, if you're putting, what, cat memes and what I ate for dinner, your chances are you shouldn't have that linked to any of the other stuff. You should keep that separate. But it's something as simple as the banner of your Facebook group. If someone clicks on it, it should have a link to your website. Whatever action you're wanting them to take, like my most desired action for whatever person is there, if it's to sign up to your email list, if it's to be a member of the group, if it's to find your podcast or your blog or whatever your thing is, that link should be in your banner photo and your profile photo and should be pinned to the top of your Facebook. But all that stuff has to match across platforms.
Right.
And if you're trying to do something like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn and Snapchat and YouTube, and the list just goes on and on and on, then all of that stuff also has to be congruent, and it all has to have links to whatever it is your desired action is, donate, email list, or whatever have you. And all of it has to work. I just spent some time, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I went through my podcast site, and none of the links went to the place that I
Oh
thought
no.
they were going to.
Oh no.
I I copied a link in from like the Facebook link to the page to the thing, So there was like that added layer in between with a redirect site. Anyway, it made it confusing and it didn't work the way it should work. I had to go through, adjust my settings, make sure I had the organic web address, and I click the feature that allows it to open a new window or open a new tab when you click on it. And that's a whole, background behind the scenes stuff that allows your timeline page to be more and all those things. But even me, the guy that talks about podcast stuff, had to go back through and double check his stuff. That stuff happens.
Right.
It's not I can't believe this happened. This isn't a freak out moment, but you have to check. And then once you check, you have to fix it.
Yeah, it's been, 15 plus years since the web was a set it and forget it type place. That doesn't work anymore. I mean, literally, if you set a website up and forget it, a lot of times it'll get hacked eventually now. So there's a lot. It is not, and arguably maybe it shouldn't have been even 10, 15 years ago, but definitely today it's not a set it and forget it thing because, I mean, part of it is just we rely on so much of that interconnectedness because there are so many options. So we're using this service and this service, then we have our website, and then we're doing Facebook. And if any one of those places changes things, different things might break. And so you've got to keep an eye on those things or have a professional that's doing that for you. But definitely you have to keep an eye on those things on an ongoing basis. And you bring up a good point in that so just a couple weeks ago, I was helping a nonprofit organization get their messaging kind of consistent across all the platforms. And we'd actually built out a full digital marketing plan for them. And they had said, hey, can you include that, how much you charge, what order we should do these things in, what priority they are, and how much you charge for each of those. And so we did that. Normally we don't, unless somebody asks us, we don't include our prices in a digital marketing plan because we do charge for the plan. It turns out that has value. But the very first thing was you've got to get the same across the board on your different social platforms and your website. And so they had very little control over their website, but the first thing we did was go in and make sure the imagery was the same everywhere, but also just the text, the words they used, the phrases they used, how they talked about themselves. We wanted it to be obvious when someone got from one place to another place that they were in the right place. And so, but it takes time. And then the other issue you run into is the limitations on all the different platforms and the capabilities are not the same. So it's kind of, you'll do some back and forth in getting it to all work very similar, at least to get it all set up. But it takes some work. You can do it on your own, definitely. I'm obviously a little biased towards using a professional, but it takes time. If you do it on your own, you got to invest some serious time and some back and forth. And there's going to be some frustration, definitely.
Oh, you mean frustration comes standard?
That's right. That's right.
I've definitely experienced a little bit of that, getting the podcast set up and working on a website, which you may or may not notice is currently not live because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's taking time to get it figured out.
Sure.
And that's just the way it goes. But what I do know is that social media platforms come and go. Obviously, MySpace was here for a short time, and now it's, just a barren wasteland of no one really uses it anymore. Or at least if they do use it, no one admits to using it. So I hear a lot about what it takes to actually collect something and keep something that can be yours as an asset. And that thing is emails.
Right.
Emails have not gone away. In fact, many people are touting this as the number one way to sell a new product, and something like collecting an email and then using MailChimp in order to sell your product or your service or let people know an event is still really, really high on everyone's list. And I'm getting a head nod from you. Tim, tell us more about email lists and MailChimp.
Sure. So I will caution you, definitely if you're talking mid-20s and lower and that's your target market, email will not be your best option, just because we've kind of gone full circle where a lot of them just are not in email as much as people 25 plus. And that's kind of a bit of an arbitrary line, but it's around mid-20s. But yes, so as long as we kind of exclude those people for a moment, or just assume that some of them are going to be good on email and it will be effective, but overall that age group, it's not the most effective. The rest of the age group, Yeah, potentially it's the most effective thing. Definitely has the most market saturation. I mean, when you think about the social media platforms, you have to have an email address to sign up for them. So the assumption is everyone coming in starts with an email address. And so as long as your email marketing is opt in, and I'll explain what that means in a second, but as long as it's opt in instead of opt out, they've given you permission to actually reach out and stay in touch with them on a regular basis. Now, you want to set expectations up front. So, like when they're opting in, you want them to know as much as they can what they're getting into. And so that keeps your unsubscribes from going down and that sort of thing. But as long as you do that, as long as you make clear the expectations and then follow through with whatever you committed to, you're consistent in what you send, then yeah, email marketing can definitely be huge. You and I were talking a little bit beforehand. It just so happens that today I'm actually teaching a class on email marketing. And so it is amazing the big perspective shift I have to instill in nonprofits, especially, is that they assume that their email newsletter should be all about them and their organization. And that's not the case at all. Any digital marketing, any marketing, but especially your email newsletter, you've got to think about what's in it for the recipient, right? And it could be feeling good, right? They're different, definitely different. Doesn't have to be like a monetary thing by any means, but you need to think about why are they subscribing? Why kind of that what was that upfront agreement from their perspective? Why did they subscribe to this newsletter? And I've got to keep fulfilling that perspective while suiting my needs too from an organizational standpoint. And so definitely keeping in mind, and there are different things you can do. You can do what's called in the sales world lead magnets, right? Downloadable reports, that sort of thing. Different things where people will opt in. But all of those need to be framed around what is the expectation that the person will have once they subscribe, and what do I need to actually get out of this newsletter or out of this email list, this email marketing. There's also a whole lot of compliance issues. Fortunately, MailChimp by default, so if you're using MailChimp, that's actually our platform of choice. But if you're using MailChimp by default, it makes you do all the compliance stuff, so it's not going to be an issue. Can you go in and delete stuff and become non-compliant, or otherwise known as illegal in certain countries? Yeah, you can. You definitely can do that, but by default, it'll help you with compliance. So using some sort of service and not just doing it. So a lot of people start out just doing it through Outlook or Gmail or whatever, through their inbox. And that's okay for a starting point, because in some ways it's more important to start than it is to get it exactly right at the beginning. But MailChimp has a free forever plan. Now, they have changed a lot of things in the last year where there are a bunch more limitations than there used to be. But if you get in now and you've never used it before, you won't even know. You won't be frustrated. The internet was outraged back in March or so because of all these changes. But if you get in, you won't even know about the changes, right? So it doesn't matter. But they are one of the few that have a free forever plan. So a bunch of the other sites, like probably a lot of people have heard of Constant Contact, for example, and I think they have like a 30-day free trial. Most of the other sites, it's a 30-day free trial. MailChimp, you can get it forever for free as long as you live within their limitations. And then kind of the spectrum of people that do pay, you're generally talking somewhere between $5 and $30, depending on the provider and a number of different things. If you're not getting $5 to $30 worth of return every month or more than that, then you're doing something wrong in the first place. So it should definitely be worth it. One of the other things that I get frequently asked is, okay, how often should I actually be sending out emails? So the first, and of course the prerequisite is, the assumption is you're going to be consistent, right? So you do need to be consistent. Don't send them out sporadically. But what we've seen, especially in organizations where the email marketing is handled by someone who wears more than one hat in their organization, right? So the marketing is not their only responsibility. Maybe they're out there raising funds. Maybe they're running the whole nonprofit and doing the marketing, but they're wearing multiple hats. What we've seen is either to be both beneficial to them and sustainable, either once a month, twice a month, or weekly is about the frequencies we've seen work. So that's kind of the range that it falls in. So which one of those do you pick? Well, what you look at is the problems you solve, whatever the mission is of your organization. how often is that top of mind for your ideal recipient, right? Whoever that is, whether it's, it could be, and it's normally a mix of these things, but it could be someone you want to donate. It could be that your email's targeted to the people you help. It could be it's targeted to potential volunteers, board members, that sort of thing. How often do they actually think about the issues that you're solving? And that tells you where on that scale you actually land as far as how often you send out email newsletters. But being consistent. And then the other thing is, yes, it's going to be effort to put the newsletter together on an ongoing basis, but also you need to work on growing your newsletter list. There are times where it will grow itself, right? That happens. Some people are lucky, but in general, just what is the sales thing is always be closing, always be asking people, hey, we have this newsletter, this is what it's about, would you like me to sign you up? Don't worry, we make it easy to unsubscribe if it turns out you don't like it. Feel free to say no, but would you like me to add you to the list? And so just kind of be, especially when you're in your first group of people, kind of a 0 to 1,000, really, manually just asking people in person, through email, on social media can be huge. And then don't just send them a link and say, here you go, sign up. If they said yes and you have their email address, sign them up for it. Make it easier for them, right? You want to make it as easy as possible. So those are kind of some key aspects to email marketing that most nonprofits have not, especially starting nonprofits, have not thought through.
That was a lot of content, and it
Can you
was
tell I'm teaching on that? Can you
it's
tell I'm teaching on that this
all
afternoon?
valuable. You did your prep work. Everyone's going to be blown away this afternoon. Something I did want to mention is if you are a nonprofit and you are running a Facebook group, read that as you should be running a Facebook group. You can have questions that appear when they request to be added to the group. And one of those things can be, what is your email?
Right.
And you can add them without them providing their email. But if you assume that they're going to provide it, then they have given you permission to use their email. Something else you mentioned, where it depends on who your audience is. You might have a master list of everyone that you've ever come in contact with interested in participating in some level of your organization, and you'll have a master list. You should, in my opinion, and maybe Tim can back me up on this, is you should have sub lists, because you're going to have people that work for you, people that volunteer, people that are your general cheerleaders, and you might have someone like donors or concerned, businesses of interest. And you're going to send marketing material of some variety to different levels to these people. If you come out with a new volunteer shirt, you're probably going to not want to send that to everyone. If you come out with a limited edition, summer is upon us, or in this case, winter is upon us, limited time only offering t-shirt, man, send that to everybody. But if you're coming out with hey, this is your new swag logo sweatband for all my volunteers only, don't send that to your donors only list. Take that second, spell check, make sure your selected audience, who you really want to receive whatever the message is that you're sending, make sure that goes out to the right group. There's nothing quite embarrassing like sending something to 4,000 of the wrong people.
Yes.
You might get some chatter, you might get some unsubscribes, you might get a couple of yeses, but mostly people are going to be confused, and you don't want that at all. Something I do want to mention is, if you're doing some kind of newsletter, do not, I repeat, do not just tell them the good things that you are doing. If you have a mission and you have been doing great things, go ahead and put that in there. But also put where you need volunteers, where you could need some help, where you could need some donations of stuff. And then the area that you're not yet completing, it could be you don't have enough money to feed all the homeless people in your area. It could be that you don't have enough money to travel to that new place you want to go travel to and speak to this group. It could be a million different things. But if you don't show that you still have some kind of need for their ongoing support and money, they're going to stop giving.
Right.
And they're going to need to know where you still need help and where you can be promoted. And sometimes it's not going to be money. Sometimes it's going to be time or talent. And maybe one of that talents is them sharing their email list with you, or sending one of your emails on behalf of them, and they'll send it to their email list, which might be way more valuable than the $500 donation, $5,000 donation that you were asking
Right.
for, because now you've gained this whole other group, this whole other audience. So don't just take email lists as nonchalantly. They are very specific. They can be very pointed, but you must be sure that you're focusing in the right area.
Yeah, if you never ask for anything, it's weird. You'll hardly ever get anything. So, also to your first point. So, just in case someone out there is kind of doing this on their own, researching. So the whole concept of having those different types of like categorizing volunteers, people that have donated, people that haven't done anything yet but subscribe. In the email marketing world, that's called segments. And then specifically, if you're using MailChimp, a lot of times they will use tags to create those segments. So if you're on my email list, for example, Travis, I might tag you as I might tag you as not a client, but someone we had some sort of external interaction with. Whatever the case is, if someone becomes a client, I could tag them as a client. For a nonprofit, you could tag someone as a volunteer, board member, recipient of services. Obviously, you got to worry about privacy laws and all that with that potentially, but having all those tags, that's kind of how you create. You tag people in MailChimp and then create those segments, and then you just send the emails specifically to the people that you think they're most appropriate for. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that I appreciate all the insight that you're giving. I know you teach a class on this. It's a paid for class that people have to actually pay to get this information.
Yes.
We're giving it away for free today, mostly because I bribed you. Uh, so I definitely want to say thank you to that. And what I'm looking for from you is, what can we do to help T&S marketing? What can we help to do to bolster your organization? Where you're looking at to be in a few years? How can we help you out?
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So T&S Online Marketing. So number one, I'll share. I'm sure you'll have this online also, but our website is tandsgo.com. So that's tandsgo.com. Really, so definitely want to talk to nonprofits that think they can't afford a good website. So that's probably step one. If you run a nonprofit and your immediate thought when I was talking about that earlier or right now is, well, there's no way I can afford to hire Tim and his team. Uh, you might not be able to, but you might be wrong. You might be able to. So you're making a little bit of an assumption there. I would love to talk with you regardless. In fact, we talk to people all the time that it turns out we're not a good fit for some reason, but I'm able to steer them in whatever direction that they are a good fit. So if you've thought, oh, I couldn't afford that, talk to me, email me, call me. My contact information's on the website. Either way, I'd be happy to talk to you. So that's number one. Number two, a couple things we do have on our website. Number one, we have a free email newsletter. Big surprise, right? Drink the Kool-Aid. If this information, I mean, our newsletter is based around giving out free marketing information. And the idea is, if people decide they don't want to do it themselves or they need help with it, then they reach out and contact us because we're the ones that provided it in the first place. So would love if you go kind of look through our blog. That's typically the stuff we're sending out in our email newsletter. So if that looks like good, helpful information, then go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter. We do have a premium email newsletter that's paid. So that's a $500 one-time investment. And that newsletter is actually much shorter, but it's directly applicable things. So we're sharing digital marketing tactics and tools that you can generally apply pretty quickly to your business when they make sense. Now, not every single newsletter makes sense for every organization, obviously. But that is a paid newsletter option. But again, if you're just like, no, I want my feet wet, the blogs were helpful, then go ahead and sign up for the email newsletter that we email our blog on.
That's awesome. Definitely going to have those links in the show notes. And I'm definitely going to have links to your books. Looks like you got a handful of books here on Amazon. I'm going to throw links in there so people can go directly and get some insight from you, whether it's online blogging or something else.
Mm-hmm.
To get a little tip from you, Tim. And thank you so much for being on the show today. can't wait to hear more and see what you're doing in the future.
Yep. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Travis. We good?
We're good.
Awesome.
So how much would it be to set up a website that I'm completely struggling with?
So I'll tell you, so my line for nonprofit. So this is when I actually sit down with and talk to them. I mean, we talk through everything first, right? But what I tell them is we're going to talk through everything, and then I'll tell you the price it is for profits. If you can afford that price, I do ask that you pay it. But if you cannot afford that price, then we'll talk through it and kind of see if there's an option or something we can work out one way or another. And so I will tell you, so again, this is not, I don't put this in our marketing and stuff, but when I have those private conversations, I tell people, yeah, we barter for like sponsorships all the time, for events if the nonprofit's local. So there's a lot of different things we will barter for. And then a lot of times, as long as I can look at my profit margin and I break even, if it's a worthy organization and I can break even, then I'll do it. 99.9% of our deals are ongoing now because of all that stuff we just talked about. So normally, kind of the range we land in is 300 a month to 1,000 a month. I will tell you, I have talked with multiple podcasters and have yet for any of them to actually get a website at that level. Now, what some of them have done is said, well, here's what I'm having trouble with. Can you just help me with these things in the setup process, and then I'll do everything myself, and then everything past that myself. And the nice thing is, podcasters do tend to have the mindset of they enjoy most of the stuff, or have kind of come to understand that, no, I'm going to have to deal with some of this technical stuff, even if I don't like it. And so they don't have the, oh, I expect you to fix everything 6 months from now type of attitude. So which we run into sometimes. But so all that said, a lot of times someone will end up just saying, well, can you come in? I've got a list. Can you get through as many of these things as you can in an hour? And then because we do hour blocks of time in those types of arrangements, and it's 200 an hour. So a lot of times I can get through more than 10 times the work you could get through, in an hour of my time. So what you're actually paying for is 10 hours plus frustration of your time back.
Well, in the case of my situation, 10 times 0 is actually 0.
Right.
So the guy, Stephen Kuhn, that I was looking at, he set up a website for a political website in Germany. And it's
Okay.
got a banner on top. It's like, sign this petition.
Mm-hmm.
He went out to all these political people in Germany, and they have a blog section. They write in blogs, and he just posts them on their stuff. Then he's got another section that is like a question of the week where he uses to capture emails. And the rest of his website is RSS feed.
Okay.
For different politics, right? So in my case, for nonprofit stuff, one of those RSS feeds would be fundraising or events or setting up your nonprofit or whatever the thing is. And I would like to do something like that, except for he wants to charge $20,000 that I do not want to pay.
Right.
But I went to his place in Budapest, and I have seen his numbers. His email list is like 600,000.
Oh, wow.
He adds 5,000 a month, and when he sends out one email, he can no shit make $150,000.
What is his website address?
That is a great question that I have the answer to, but it might take me a hot second to get there.
Sure. Actually, while you're looking it up, I'm going to run. My restroom is right next door. I'm going to run use the restroom real quick. I drank a lot of water during that talk.
I saw. I'm proud of you.
You still there?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. I see you
So
there. Just making sure I hadn't turned off my audio again.
I
I think there's a
dropped.
button down here and I never use it. And I think I just leaned forward and kind of bumped it weird in between the desk and the. All right. I saw you just texted me.
Yep, it's in German, so I sent you
Sure.
the link.
Oh, you Facebook messaged me. You didn't text me.
I did Facebook message.
I'm
not
looking
gonna.
at the wrong place. Oh,
I'm
where did you? Yeah,
overseas. I'm not gonna
that's
text
right.
you from
That's right. That's
overseas.
right.
Who does that? You know how much that costs?
I do not, because I've never done it.
A lot. It's not
And
cheap.
I was going to say, I probably would never do it.
No, you don't plan on going overseas at all?
Let me see. No, my wife would just inform me ahead of time. You're not texting anyone while we're there.
Oh,
That's what would happen.
I wear the pants in this relationship, right, sweetie? That's right, baby. You definitely wear the pants.
Okay. Wow. So this is all just from an RSS feeds.
Yeah. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's
Oops.
another section where it says blogs and survey.
And just refresh. It just started refreshing the page for some reason. I don't know why.
Spies, I'm sure. Government spies.
That's right.
But you can see he's got the big banner on top with the petition. And then he's got all his different segments are all RSS feed.
Huh. Okay.
But if you scroll down the main page, there's a section that's blogs, and those are people that write in on their own.
Okay.
And then you got a survey on the right.
Okay. I think it's fine. I mean, this is slow, which is not too surprising. I mean, I'm on the other side of the world, but
Yeah, give it a sec. It's got to go to space.
that's right. That's my favorite. When I get impatient with my phone, I'm like, well, it does. The signal is going up to outer space and back. Okay. So he's got a mixture of kind of original articles and RSS feeds on here, but 20 grand,
Right.
huh? Wow.
Yeah. Now on the one side, it's astronomical, right? On the other side, if I do the things and set it up the way I want to, I would be able to generate a lot of traffic
Sure.
and email market to people. And also, I would then have the tools to set this up for other people.
Right.
In theory. Do you see the section of blogs?
So I clicked on one. I can't tell what's a blog and not.
Oh, do you have Google Translate up in your address bar? You can click
Yeah, when I did that, that's when it tried to reload the whole page and started acting weird. So I turned it back off again.
Okay. Well, actually, I can screen share, right?
Yeah.
Let me just find this.
Funny, I actually pay $15 a month for Zoom, and I normally when I use it, it's just the free capabilities. I never actually use the paid capabilities.
I would use it to teach a class online. So here's the website. You can see
Okay,
this?
there we go. Yeah.
So we've got the banner up top, the petition that captures email. It looks like politics, economy, family, Christian, all this stuff is RSS feed besides maybe newsletter and
okay.
right? And you scroll down here just a little bit. You've got a blog section here on the left, right?
Oh, that explains. Okay, yeah, some of that stuff I was like, that's not in an RSS feed. Like you can't get that information from an RSS feed, so no wonder. That explains it.
Yeah, and then over here on the right, you have the survey. Like, I don't know what GrowCo is, right? But should they break apart? So what he does for this specifically is this is either a conservative or a liberal thing, right?
Mm.
So if he says yes, he's going to write them an ad based on whichever party, right? And then if you put no, he's going to write it based on conservative values as opposed to liberal values, right?
Hmm.
It looks like an area of ad space and some other little stuff over here. But the vast majority of this thing is RSS feed. So in something like I would do, and I don't know exactly how to do this yet, I would probably find petitions that have to do with nonprofit stuff. Whatever the thing is. Maybe if it has to do with animal rights, I'll reach out to animal activist type nonprofit stuff or people that have service dogs or whatever their thing is, right? To get them to point them there. down here in the blogs, I would give probably people in the nonprofit world the space to host whatever they wanted to talk about, whether they do it daily, weekly, or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
is. And it looks like we've got 4 or 5 people that have written articles today, no kidding, today,
Hmm.
that are on here, right? And then the survey, which also captures email, would be a way to see what kind of content they would want to see on here, or they want me to talk about, what kind of person they want me to interview. I'm not really sure how I would do that, but something like this setup I can see going really well. Whoops, especially with designed to capture email. And if I'm
Right.
going to sell coaching services, I want to be able to market to them on email.
Right. Now, where is his email capture on here?
That's a good question. So let's click on the petition here. Click on this, see if it tries to get my email. Oh, of course it's not in, but it's gonna be right here on the banner,
Okay.
right? And most pages in America, it's a pop-up that
Right.
comes right in, right? I hear different school of thought on that. Let me see if I can vote on this. See if it takes my email. Does not take my email.
So that form on the side on the petition did have your email. So he must be getting the. He must be getting. I mean, there may be other stuff, obviously, but he must be getting it from the petition. So people that sign the petitions.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think of a website that's like this? I do like the fact that RSS feeds update most of the content, so I'm not
Right.
doing work. I'm still active duty Navy. I'm deployed overseas, trying to
Right.
write a podcast and all the other stuff that I do. Um, I don't know how it auto fill in blogs, so I don't know how that would work. If they submit it to a website or they put it on a page and it auto populates this
Yeah,
over here.
you can have people. I mean, there's a few different ways you can do it. Obviously, you could give trusted people just an account where they can log in, and even then you can make it still require approval from you before it goes live. Or you can have, if someone's been doing it for a while, you could just go ahead and set it up so that there's automatically go live when they post it. Obviously, every account you have like that is a potential point for your website to get hacked. And so in general, you want the least number of accounts you can get away with. So you could also have a public facing form or even a password protected page where all they did was enter, everybody had the same password. And then it was just a form where they weren't logged in per se, but they were just logged into that page, and then they could fill the form out with their blog, with their article, and then submit it. And then you could again still decide what goes online and not from what's submitted, or have it automatically go up. I mean, there's different 2 ways to do it. But yeah, I mean, something like this, we would definitely need to sit down and hash out more details, but again, a normal priced one like this would probably be on our model between 500 and 750 a month, something like that. And you'd pay, it'd be a 2-year, we do 2-year commitments. So, because it takes that long for us to recoup some of that cost, obviously. But
Oh, I imagine. I
but definitely
imagine.
cash flow. Most of the people we talk to, that make the cash flow makes it a lot easier on them. But yeah, that's what you'd be looking at, 500 to 750 a month.
Right. So that sounds like 18,000, which I think is his upfront price for the 750 a month for 2 years.
Gotcha. Yep.
Right. So you're really in the same ballpark as he is.
Sure.
You just have
That's not terribly surprising.
you just have smaller chunks of smaller bites out of my ass, I think.
Well, and like we were just talking about, the ongoing support, so that it kind of includes that ongoing support from us.
Right. In your estimation, would what I'm talking about work? Because I would have I'd have my podcast feed on here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to have it auto transcripted into text and then also do the video, which I'm not there yet.
Right.
A, I don't know what I'm doing. B, I don't have excess cash laying around. I'm debating right now on firing my production team at $350 a month because I don't feel like I'm getting $350 in value a month from them.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. So I have a mantra on my whiteboard back at my primary office that says, is this a distraction disguised as an opportunity? Don't lie to yourself. I'm now trying to evaluate, should I be doing this, or is this a distraction for me? Should I make one of these sites for myself, or is it a distraction disguised as an opportunity? And I haven't decided yet. But no, it sounds, I mean, it sounds like something where, okay, yeah. So roles reversed, right? I'm like, okay, let's try this for 2 years and then we'll reevaluate, do we keep doing it or not? And so kind of putting what does success look like? What does failure, what's the worst case? What does failure look like? Am I okay with both of those extremes? Am I set up to handle the success, or can I be? And am I set up to handle the failure? But from my standpoint, I mean, it's an experiment worth running. Is kind of my initial, I mean, obviously in just the 15 minutes we've been talking about it, that's kind of my initial reaction is yeah, it's an experiment worth running.
Yeah, I think he said initially when he went out to the bloggers, he contacted 200 political minds in Germany to get people started doing it. And some write, one or two. Some people don't respond, obviously. Some people
Right.
get a daily, a weekly, or a monthly post in there, which just, I guess, is an SEO generating magnet.
It helps their website. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've
So
got a few, I mean, I definitely have a few contacts. So I also am thinking with yours now, I have a few contacts who I'd at least like to introduce you to who I think could be good columnists if you decide to do it.
I'm definitely interested. I'm trying to figure out how I can make this work because I currently am not generating a whole lot of cash.
Sure.
Obviously,
Right.
I'm doing this semi part time overseas. The people that I talk to are sleeping when I'm awake. It is 8 p.m. here right now.
Right.
And you're getting ready for lunch before
That's
too
right.
long here, right?
Yep.
So I can't be up all night contacting people on Twitter and LinkedIn and every other social media on the planet to try to generate something like Gary Vee talks about and crushing it, right? I have to really pick one platform
Right.
to hope to get some traction there, but that's going to take me a couple of years. Something like this would be very helpful, but I don't have the cash right now to do anything. I also don't really have my fleshed out plan to sell them as a coach.
Right.
So,
which not that what is the saying, a plan is useless but planning is invaluable.
Exactly. I'm still trying to get my kind of weekly battle rhythm on this podcast running, so I'm doing all the
Right.
things I have to do to make it successful. And
Sure.
you go to work for 12 plus hours and you get back and by the way, you have to work out, do laundry and all this stuff. Oh, and I have to get online and try to be super excited about nonprofit work and all that stuff. So definitely have days that are better than others. I'm sure you agree. But the difference between you and I is you currently have a team surrounding you.
Right.
As to where I am off on my own in this apartment, and I've got no one to bounce ideas of or keep me on point and all that stuff.
Well, and I'm 16 years in, so it was not like that at the beginning. I had a business partner at the very beginning, but he bowed out within the first year, and so which was actually a good thing. I think if had we been on the same page on some different things, he wouldn't have done it at all. But starting with a business partner, if you're on the same page, I think is good. We were not on the same page, and so, but yeah, it was yeah. I mean, I was same thing, not overseas, but same thing. When I started, I had or shortly after I started T&S, that's when our oldest was born. So I had a newborn and trying to deal with all that and build the company up on the side, because I also did it on the side for about the first 4 or 5 years. Doing it on the side, man, I feel you, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah. So my goal is to have this up and running as a legitimate business before I retire. And I'm already over
Okay.
19 years. And I obviously understand it takes time to get things rolling. I've got orders back to Oklahoma City. I'll see you in June,
Oh, nice.
which is nice. But, still have my dread is to have to go punch a time clock somewhere unless I'm learning some skill specifically. Like
Right.
if I came to work for you and learn how to do media and shit, like that
Sure.
would be a good use of my time. And the Navy's like, well, why don't you just stay? I'm like, because you're not teaching me, and I don't
Right.
like to, and you're mean to me,
Right.
like. But I know your clock is ticking on your next things, so I'm going to let you go. But definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I plan on putting a couple of your books in the show notes so people
Okay.
can link to
Yes.
those.
Yes. When you mentioned that, I was going to say so the three, I say I don't talk about the first two. I don't talk about them other than to tell people they're out of date. Don't buy them if you find them. But the three big ones are the 102 tweets, blog a week, and online marketing mind shift. And so those are the three that I encourage people to take a look at. And of course, I just added another one I'm working on right now to the mix. So I think the total's at 5 books I'm working on right now. I need to focus in. I told Shannon the next one I'm going to do, and so hopefully she'll keep me accountable for finishing that one before I start on the other ones.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, let me see here. There's a scroll bar. Yeah, so there's a bunch of them on Amazon, but all those are available on there. Yeah, I'll put links up
okay,
when I do get this thing live. I don't know when it will be. A couple of weeks.
sure.
I've got to do that for my own sanity. I'd like to, in theory, do one a day, but I would have to be spending hours a day generating leads and then
Right.
also recording.
Oh yeah.
And then, the Navy wants me to show up every now and again, so I got to do
It's weird how that
that.
works.
Yeah, it's like they want me to be there when they pay me. I don't know. I'm trying not to have to be anywhere when I'm done. But always enjoyable, Tim. Definitely loving our conversations.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Hopefully, it was good use of your time.
Oh, definitely.
Cool, man. Well, I'm going to have to sign off and let you go.
All right.
Meanwhile, you're downloading all the details of freetwalt.net in Germany.
That's
Seeing,
right.
yeah. Cool, man. You have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. You too. Thanks, Travis.
All right. Bye.
Bye.